Hi, welcome. My name's Dale McCluskey. On this video, as part of my series called Flipping the Script, going to be focusing in on balanced dog training. Again, talk about certain themes that are missing. Okay, and so this video put out by a very popular balanced dog trainer, goes by the name of Larry Krohn, will help illustrate the themes that I talk about in terms of where it all begins. I talk about the role of the owner, the jumping in point, how the spotlight needs to be put on the owner in relation to the relationship in terms of being dialed in to both the relationship and the dog's state of mind, and the role of influence at the same time being proactive, okay, in terms of intercepting control as it's manifesting through express states. So this is where, again, even when we hear trainers talking about using that word behavior, understand it's used by way of this superficial idea as to what training is. They do not connect dots that way by way of tying it in at the social level. And so the problem with that, you're going to see it here, is in terms of even as it relates to the remote caller, when trainers talk about finding the working level, okay, of the caller, it needs to be in corresponding to the express states of the dog, okay, to intercept. But the problem here is what you're going to see is this disconnect. Okay, so when I talk about balanced dog training being disconnected by way of this idea that trains and learning-based exercise, you're going to see it playing out here. So in terms of finding the working level, so what that means is that disconnect is expressed through, you'll see Larry Krohn, he's not near this owner over here as this owner starting to get this dog on the leash, preparing to get this dog out into the middle of this seminar. This is where this is happening with other dogs around, which can be a problem in itself. We'll talk about that. So he's over here talking to this group of individuals and not concerned at all, not even focused in on this owner. And that's a major problem, okay? Because again, I talk about, just like your parenting style, just like your role as a parent. That's why I use the parenting example so often. Understanding the critical nature, okay, of how, again, in terms of, how you're interacting with, being a child's airspace, but even in terms of, defining change through the relationship, okay, in meaningful ways, and how the spotlight needs to come on the role of the parent and the actual parenting style, to not be left in a passive role, but proactive and engaged. And so those are the same themes here you're going to see that are not present. Okay, and again, I'm saying this is very common in balanced dog training, but this this plays into issues related to certain tools, even such as the remote collar. Because again, we talk about finding the working level. That means as this disconnect happens, as you'll see here, as this dog is expressing control, its control is manifesting as this dog comes out here, pulling on the end of the leash, expressing control. There's no intercepting any of it. Okay, Krohn will keep on talking, and then at a certain point, what you'll see is then they decide, well, now training begins. Okay, and again, we talk about balanced dog trainers being just like a reactive parent. And the example I use, like waiting until the selfish child is already in the toy aisle before dialing in, and the child pulling the toys down on the heads of the other kids before the parent decides at that moment, okay, they're going to jump in. That's the way you want to see balanced dog training. Okay, it's not dialed into the relationship that way. And just like a parent, having that kind of epiphany moment where it's like, okay, you're getting information from, the school, you're getting information as a parent in terms of your child's bad attitude. All sorts of things are happening that's going to bring you to that place where you say, you know what, I'm dealing with a relationship problem. And no different, dogs are social animals. Okay, dogs not being like being walked on the leash a certain way with influence and control. I talk about those core ingredients and being active. Dogs again get possessive of their food, jumping on people, control manifesting, destructive, destructive behavior to that express state. Even a housebreaking, dog goes outside, comes right back in, does their business again. Everything up to the point of aggression. So understand aggression is basically represents a tipping point when a dog is gained a higher level of control in the relationship. Okay, it's manifesting. And how you want to line this up with a parenting example, it's no different than the selfish child. The more selfish that they become, the more the behavioral issues escalate, right to a point of bullying and complete disrespect. And so here, in terms of your role, understand it's absolutely critical. Dogs share a special connection with us through socially, okay, through nature and through the pack relationship. And what that transfers over into is how we connect, how we interact, our emotions. Those things all play a tremendous role. And then you tie that into the needs of the dog. So of course here you see a pit bull. Some breeds, some dogs are going to have a higher level of need than others, but that still circles back to our role. We're the agent of change. That's so critical. So here, when you see this disconnect, that's a problem, because it needs to focus in on the relationship with the owner. That's where it all started. But here we're going to see that disconnect. So when you talk about control manifesting, let's see here, and then you decide to start pushing that button on the remote collar and find the working level. Well, ask yourself the question: what does that mean? It means you got to dial that thing way up, right? Because as control is manifesting, the dog's going to push through that. Whereas if you're proactive, if you're right over here at the moment of contact, just like a parent's moment of contact with a child, it begins, especially considering you're dealing with a relationship problem. So, those themes need to be present, okay? Influence needs to be active, intercepting the level of what I call dog stinking thinking, okay? A look just isn't a look, okay? Just like a child, once they get to a certain level, they don't have healthy thinking, okay? As a parent, okay? Even before a child goes into the toy aisle. And the difference here in this system of training, if you were to compare this with this system of training, which is a interaction-based system, it doesn't, motivate dogs at the very beginning relationship problem using treats or motivating agents, because when you do that, you're setting up a problem within a framework of response. Yeah, sure, dogs will, do a sit or a down for something that they want, but the missing piece here in the dog training world is the fact that you're experiencing a relationship problem. Okay, just like the child's already selfish. And so if you do that, sure, you can engage in, now it's bribery is what's happening. You can bribe a response, but it doesn't mean you're going to have a better relationship. And what happens is it leads people into believing things that aren't true in those moments. But then the truth will be there, okay, because the relationship isn't going to get fixed. That's why you see so many people who invest time, money, and energy into this idea only to discover once they get their certificate, they're still dealing with a unresolved behavioral issue with their dog. That's so common. So I'm going to place on this, but pay attention. This starts right here. I mean, this is like where it needs to begin. So again, through this system, what I'd be doing is I'd be standing right over here with the owner and starting to, focus in on her in terms of starting to interact the right way, starting to, intercept the dog's state of mind, start to get the dog to relax, to start to, process everything through them. That's how you're successful. And then when you do, say, align with, say, a device like a remote collar, it's going to make sense to the dog. And typically, you're not going to, if the working level is going to be something different, because then everything makes sense. But here, see, when you're engaging this way and you're not dialed in this way, it affects everything. So I'll play some of this video, stop along the way again, just to really, this is a great illustration, okay, of what I'm talking about.
You might want to move him out of the way. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just going by what I was told.
No.
So again, she's over there. I mean, getting the dog kind of organized hooked up with certain tools, a remote collar, and muzzle and all that. But that's control too. Like that's the thing. Just think about the issue about leaving people in a passive role. Like that's balanced training. It's reactionary. You see it all the time with these trainers, and that's a problem because once control starts to manifest, it's people get redirected on everything else. All sorts of issues can happen.
No.
It's just like I said, just stand.
So see, I have to think in a different way too, because now if I put in my head what I was told about the dog, it's unfair to the dog.
So he's saying if I put in my head what they said that's unfair to the dog, what's that even translate into? What's the ideology in play? Shouldn't be about any of that. What it means is not about that. It's about getting over there and you have enough information to know, right? So it's not about that. So when I'm walking into a situation, it's about setting a certain tone and theme and motion because it's the moment of contact. I understand it's so critical.
I start off in a bad place right from the start. You know,
Well, he's talking about starting a bad place from the start. Well, balanced dog training is the bad place. I mean, just understand that.
so I have to try to calm my nerves.
Hey Larry.
Yes, sir.
Hey, when you was an agent, was you a dog handler?
No,
No, he didn't.
no, no. Actually, my first agent that I worked with.
Because here's the thing. I mean, people get this all the time. You get over there, and then things start happening. Then what do you do? You know what I'm saying? It's like, you're dealing with dogs, especially the caption here is about saying that this is the worst dog. This was the worst dog in the seminar. So wouldn't you think that you'd be over here, dialed in, get dialed the person in? But there's not, because understand those core ingredients, double influence and control, are not part of balanced dog training through a intentional interaction based method. That's not part of it at all. So they're in agreement with this idea that training is a learning based exercise, just like force free trainers. The only difference is they bring, just like the remote control, they'll bring influence into their process, but it doesn't align properly. Not the right level. It's not dialed in the right way to a dog's state of mind. It's not intercepting the stinking thinking part. None of that.
As a trainee when it was my first Malinois I ever saw. He was a canine handler. And my first night on the job, that's who I was with. Just worked out that way. And it was awesome. I got hooked real quick. All right, go ahead. You can film.
Yep.
You ready? Let's see it.
So right here. I mean, this is really represents balanced dog training. You see it. So you see it in all the videos I put out, not just for this trainer, but so many. It's like they don't care about that. Their whole thing is about, say, that device. They don't see this as, they don't link this in this way in terms of control manifesting, stinking thinking. None of that. They're not dialed in that way. And that's the major problem. Understand balance dog. So right here, this dog is already starting to push forward. This dog should be right next to this person. But with those core ingredients, not bribery, not using treats. Okay, control, intentional control through the leash, and influence by way of intercepting this dog's mind in those moments. Okay, and this dog, by doing it in a proactive way, the dog's going to be more agreeable to it. Okay, understand, because it's the type of language that you're speaking through a intentional method. If you go watch my videos, you'll see how I'm lining it all up with really problematic dogs. But the focus, it needs to be processed through the owner because they're like the parent. Okay, understand that they're the one. They're the key. And by here, you see what's happening here right away. This dog's pulling out.
Okay, so she's hunting. She's hunting real good.
I'm telling you, she's hunting. She's hunting. That's like, I don't know. Same thing. Now, say control, manifesting, express state. Now, this is where the problem is too. If you get, understand, you get other people in here with dogs, right? And you'll see it here in a moment. It's going to escalate things in certain moments too, because you have dogs, expressing towards each other. And so again, understand the whole theme here is totally disconnected from, fading this dog owner into the relationship with those core ingredients active, right? Intercepting. So if you do it, you don't need a remote collar. Trust me, I don't use a remote collar as a pivot point that way. See, and that's the problem too. Is like I use it as a secondary tool, say for the crate. And it can be used, but the foundation itself needs to be, those core ingredients need to come into a method, a interaction-based method. It's going to make sense to the dog. That's your foundation. Then everything, flows from that, moves out from that.
So what I was told.
That's the same thing. This is where, again, Krohn just, standing there talking, right? Not dialed into any of this, right? This dog's tail. Now, when you see tail wag, understand that's like endorphins kicking off. That's like a runner's high. People assume, oh, a happy dog. Now, dog's tail be wagging, looks happy, and you get bitten. Okay? Understand that's the thing about, when you get dogs expressing control. Because control gives comfort and fulfillment. That's why dogs can look, balanced, okay? can look well behaved. That's where that statement comes from when people say, well, my dog is pretty good except. Well, dogs can look pretty good while they're gaining an incredible amount of control in their relationship without those core ingredients I talk about as part of the mix. Because just think about the selfish child can look well behaved as they get more and more selfish. They're playing their video games, doing what they want to do, until certain moments, right, when a demand, is part of the equation. Say, pick up your toys because you're the parent, versus pick up your toys and here's $100. Okay, think about the whole dog training world is based on, here's $100, but then you have to connect the dot, which these trainers don't do, to the fact that the current state of the relationship. Okay, because the child's already selfish, and then that's when the parental role needs to be brought into the process and the parenting style itself. It all connects together at the social level.
She's pretty extremely aggressive, dog aggressive.
You're pretty extremely aggressive, and this dog's lunging out. He's not doing anything. He's not doing anything here.
Attack.
So it's almost like too. You have a feeling with some of these trainers, and this comes out in some of the videos where it's like a show. Okay, it's almost like they want to, they want to bring the dog out and just kind of show it before they start hitting the button, just to kind of illustrate something. That's the wrong way. But beyond advanced dog training, they're not dialed in anyway. But you'll see how they want to kind of talking and the controls manifest, and then it's like, oh, watch this. I start hitting this button. But again, think about what I'm saying. The issue that's related to being in a reactionary, posture. Just like the child example, the child's already in the toy aisle pulling the toys down the heads of the other kids before then you jump in. Now it could be a major problem because then you're in the middle of it. Okay, the child's already acting out versus, and this is the difference with this system, getting all the information right, saying, okay, I'm dealing with a selfish child here, a relationship problem. I'm on it. And the moment you wake up in the morning after, once your feet touch the floor, roll out of bed, there's that awareness. And so before you even you might get to the department store, maybe not, for, a few days, but you're having that conversation and you're engaged, you're dialed in, you're consistent at all points of the relationship in terms of expectations, discipline, punishment, all those things that come on. But through the authoritative parenting style, which all the experts agree on, that's the parenting style that is, aligns properly. And the themes that go along with it, that's what this system of training represents, but it's being dialed in. And so you're having that conversation before you even leave the house to go to the department store. And, once you get there, the same thing, conversation, expectations. But then what's been established through the relationship, through you being consistent in your parenting style, you're changing parenting style, switching over. And, and how you want to see, again, balanced dog training is that they will engage, influence will come online, but it's like reactionary. It's like now they're going to jump in. But, how you want to see force free, it's like force free will wait even longer. In fact, it's permissive, so they'll be like counting to 10. You better come out of there. I'm going to count to 10, and the child's waiting to count to 12. They're still not coming out. So understand, it's all about understanding your role, the role of influence. But here you see this dog. I'm going to play some more of this. Lunging forward.
Outside.
Now you can see a moment with this dog. This dog right over here is gonna surge out here in a moment. Now understand too. Now when you're letting this happen too, it brings stress onto the dog. I mean, there's stress already comes into the relationship from the fact that the dog has gained control in the relationship itself. So the stress load's already on this dog. Okay, this is why physiologically you'll see certain reactions with dogs. They'll carry on. You have to understand that's part of the issue in terms of the stress load in the dog too. So, by way of advocating properly, by starting to bring the dog into the right relationship, it takes the stress off the dog. But pay attention, this dog's going to lunge out here. Again, no direction. This isn't funneling. Yeah, I keep stopping it because I just want to make the point. This should be funneling. Okay, this dog should be given clear guidance and direction by way of influence and control. This dog should be coming right into this dog owner's side and expressed through, again, at an interaction-based level. Okay, that's not happening. This dog is just lunging out. What's Krohn doing? He's still talking and, waiting and not doing anything. Right there, look at that. This dog getting lunging out. Well, of course that could have happened. That puts people in a bad position. Why if these dogs get together? They didn't, but it's control, it's fulfillment. This dog's expressing. And then the other thing to think about is how does this transfer over to other people here, or the dog owner, this idea of things? Because understand that it's not just this issue here, which is, I talk about the remote collar, the role of influence, control manifesting, but then this whole thing about how other people are told to perceive, the relationship, to be dialed in this way. Just think about this. This kind of propagates throughout. Because the owner's left here, just holding the bag, so to speak, of a bad relationship. I mean, dogs are great; they're amazing animals, but you have to align with the relationship the right way. It's about depth of relationship, understanding your role, and it making sense to not just the dog but the owner. Now we're talking about the remote right here, like to start hitting that button, like waiting, and all this is going on right from the point of contact. And so just ask yourself the question: when you talk about dogs, like trying to fight it, push through, that's what starts happening, because they're saying, you know what? Hey, I'm in control here. This person just like, and then suddenly now you got to start going up, and you'll see it going up higher and higher and higher, because it's like two trains side by side. You have to, one's edging out in front, and now you got to try to crank that collar up. This dog's pushing through it. Now understand, Krohn's written a book on remote collar training. Okay, he's written a book on it. And balanced dog trainers are losing their tools. Okay, losing the war on remote collar. I talk about that. Well, no wonder. And now, so he's like saying, well, this ain't working. I'm going to take it. And, it's going to start, he's going to start to move it up. It has to. On the table. So all to say, okay, when you see this it serves as a perfect illustration of what I'm talking about in terms of balanced dog training. Okay, this whole thing about the role of influence, the role of the owner, the role of certain tools, right? And be aware. Okay, my encouragement to people is pay attention. They look at everything going on in the dog training world. Losing the war on remote collars. Well, no wonder they're losing the war on remote collars. I mean, it doesn't make sense. They're tied into this superficial idea of what training is. Balanced dog trainers are. And so then when you try to bring, certain tools in, you start, try to bring, influence isn't going to line up. It doesn't line up. So it's a open door for dogs to continue to hold control in the relationship. It's got to tie in. It's got to align. It's got to be brought in the right way. The only way that happens is through a intentional interaction-based method that speaks the right language. So again, check out my website. Lots of great information. Thanks for watching.